Welcome to another episode of the THWIPcast. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about various things that have happened within the Marvel universe in the last week or so. It has been a while since I've done this. It's just been very busy for me lately, just finishing my first year of college. I will be making more content soon as my time will free up. I've been retweeting all the crazy and exciting news that has dropped since my last episode, which was a few weeks ago about the Punisher returning and all that. So yeah, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but it's good to be back. And I just want to thank anyone for listening or watching and supporting me. But I will have way more content coming soon as my time is freeing up. So I just wanted to update you guys on progress that I've made on different projects. So my Avengers trailer is almost done. I'd say it's maybe 80% done, just kind of rearranging some clips, trying to figure out some sound effects and stuff like that. But yeah, it's coming. Just stay tuned for updates on that. I am planning on collaborating with Marvel Mad, who I will add their channel info in the description for you to subscribe, check out in the future. So I'm looking forward to working with them more again, as it's been a while since we've talked together. So I'm just going to get into this just without delaying this any further because there's a lot to get into. I'm not going to talk about everything I've missed. You can check out my Twitter at @THWIP_media to see everything I've reacted to from like the past few weeks regarding like any news that has dropped or any rumors, stuff like that. There have been some really big things that have come out since then, so go check that out if you haven't already. So I'm going to get started. My first topic will be Daredevil Born Again. So Daredevil, Fisk, street level Marvel. It's starting to build up. We're getting some really exciting things going on. So Daredevil Born Again is filming in New York City right now. It has been for a while. And according to a rumor, Fisk will be running for mayor of New York City in this series. I'm guessing this will be kind of set up in the Echo series that is coming before Daredevil. And Fisk will use this power to rid the city of vigilantes that have been like a nuisance to him. Some of these vigilantes being Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, who both opposed his tracksuit mafia in the Hawkeye series. Spider-Man, which is interesting considering that they haven't met yet, and I will discuss more of this later. Echo, who not as of right now is like being considered a vigilante, but later on she definitely will be, probably after her series. And of course, Daredevil. So Fisk will become a big player when it comes to the street level MCU side. He's obviously the most logical one to have as their like overarching villain for the street level, as he's a super iconic character and he is very powerful in the sense that yes, he's physically powerful, but he's also psychologically powerful. He knows a lot about all these heroes. He knows how to dismantle their lives. He knows everything about them. So it's exciting to see how they're going to handle that kind of situation if they do go that route. So in addition to that rumor that Fisk will be running for mayor, Vincent D'Onofrio has been dropping major bombs of info throughout the last week or so. He was recently at a con, I think it was Galaxy Con, where they were talking about Daredevil Born Again. Him and Charlie Cox were there, and he confirmed that there are plans for season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. This was already kind of confirmed back in, I think it was D23, when Kevin Feige was announcing the Phase 5 slate as well as the teasers of Phase 6. So he confirmed that there would be a 18 episode first season, which then kind of led many people to believe, okay, first season means that there are plans for multiple. Vincent D'Onofrio does confirm that season 2 is in development. This is a quote he said. So he said, "By the second season, there are gigantic payoffs. The fans are gonna really get what they want," which gets me super excited because what I really want is just pure Daredevil versus Fisk action, and we have got that in the Netflix series, but I want to see way more Daredevil characters come into this. Daredevil is in like my top 3 Marvel characters. I'd say it's probably Spider-Man, then Daredevil, and then maybe Black Panther or Captain America. So I really can't wait to see Daredevil come into like a fully fleshed like street level story that's gritty and dark like the Daredevil stories. And I'm more familiar with the Frank Miller stuff, so that's why I'm a huge fan of all that. But if he's confirming that there are going to be gigantic payoffs, and maybe we get a team up between Spider-Man and Daredevil, which would blow my mind. I'm going to talk more about that later, but maybe we see more characters we haven't seen yet, and I'm going to talk more about that later. So I'm going to move on to, he also confirmed that the Punisher will play a big part in this series. And my first reaction was like, yes, that's perfect. Frank Castle coming back in a big way. Jon Bernthal's an amazing actor. I can't wait to see him back in the role, killing it as always. And I will get more into what I think this could mean later. Just kind of like getting the main points out of the way. Then I'm going to talk about my thoughts on these points after. So that's why I'm just saying, like, I'm going to talk about this later. He goes on to say it will still be gritty like the Netflix show. The violence will still be in it. It's just going to be specific to like the emotional aspects, like to both Fisk and Matt. That's going to be very exciting to see again, as that was like a big talking point of the Netflix series, that it was very dark and violent. He does tease an Echo relationship. His quote here is, "It's quite something. There's a big, strong father-daughter type relationship in Echo, and it's super deeply emotional. And it's not a joke. It's deep stuff, and we're going to do the same in Daredevil Born Again." So again, this series will take place after the Echo series. Obviously, Echo will probably be involved in some capacity in Daredevil Born Again, which then would lead, because like it does take place after Echo, and Daredevil and Fisk are confirmed to be roles in the Echo series. So it's very exciting to see that happen. Very curious to see when the Echo series actually comes out, since it was supposed to come out late 2023, but since Marvel Studios' whole restructuring that has happened since my last episode, it will probably come either like really late this year or early 2024. So looking forward to that. In addition to Daredevil, we have Spider-Man. So Spider-Man 4 possibly could be dealing with the whole Fisk situation as well. Obviously, because Peter Parker is in New York, he's all on his own now. So if Fisk plays a big role in Spider-Man 4, then this could be huge. So Spider-Man and Daredevil know each other now. Maybe Peter doesn't know Matt as Daredevil, but he does know Matt and could pull him into his story at some point. Both are vigilantes in New York. Both have a common enemy, which is Fisk, assuming that Peter has encountered Fisk before, or that he first encounters him in Spider-Man 4, which then develops into the whole Matt Murdock involvement. But maybe they get a team up out of this, and I would love this. Personally, I've created my own story for their crossover that I can mention at another time, but I've basically created a concept of their kind of team up in the MCU. And I'd really like to see that, but I will mention that at another time. Maybe I'll make that its own episode. In addition to this, maybe Fisk is hiring mercenaries or assassins to hunt the vigilantes of New York with his new mayoral powers. And here are my thoughts on who could be included. So maybe the Punisher is included in this, which is interesting considering he doesn't deal with the mob at all, because the mob killed his family and he wants to eradicate all of them from New York. But maybe Fisk has leverage on him. Maybe he has kind of manipulated him into wanting to work for him, because they do know each other from the Netflix series. I highly doubt they're going to keep that relationship together from the Netflix series, since Daredevil Born Again is technically a reboot. But if they do keep the fact that they do know each other, maybe Fisk does know something that Frank needs, and in order to get that, he has to do this job for him, which is to put down Daredevil and Spider-Man, and maybe even Hawkeye and Kate Bishop. So I think that would be really cool to see Punisher and Fisk kind of play a role in Spider-Man 4, or even if this plays in the Daredevil. Another one I would really like to see is Bullseye, which would be perfect to include. Maybe even have Wilson Bethel return, who played Poindexter in Daredevil Season 3, who I thought was incredible in the role. He was so powerful in that role. He got all the emotion right. He physically was powerful in it as well, being so skillful in his combat. And then maybe another person is Kraven the Hunter, which would be awesome because Kraven is like a contract bounty hunter. Maybe it's the Aaron Taylor Johnson Kraven that's still supposed to be coming out this year, which would maybe confuse viewers since he was Quicksilver in Age of Ultron. Maybe the MCU has its own version of Kraven, which is separate from Sony's. So I'd very much like to see Kraven be involved in some way in Spider-Man in the future. So the last one I have is Chameleon, who was Spidey's very first villain. He would be super fun to do. Maybe he does the whole like evil Spider-Man plot where he dismantles his reputation. He kind of poses as Spider-Man, but he's doing really bad things, and then people see that as, oh, Spider-Man's a villain now? Okay, we don't like him. And Peter has to kind of like rebuild his reputation with the city and kind of prove that that was not him. So I feel like Chameleon would be a really fun character to include. So that was just my thoughts on Spider-Man and like any characters that this whole street level build up could introduce. And nothing is confirmed, this is just all speculation. But either way, Street MCU is looking to be amazing. I can't wait to see who else they bring in. So on to my next topic, I have Kang. So this is a big topic that has been like reported over the last week and a bit. The whole Jonathan Majors situation. I'm sure everyone knows what has happened, but if not, here's a little snapshot of what happened. So Jonathan Majors was arrested for an apparent domestic abuse situation. His lawyer is working super hard to prove he is innocent. The story keeps changing too, so it's very hard to actually come to a conclusion on anything. We just need to wait and see what actually happened. Even though the victim does have bruises and all that, she admitted it was her fault it all started. We have no idea if this was going on before this incident, if he was abusing her before, and it just got to the point where the police got Jonathan Majors at this point. Again, it is kind of hard to trust anything being reported right now because it keeps changing all the time and all this information keeps coming out. Like, I'm pretty sure it was yesterday, and as I'm recording this, it is March 31st. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday Jonathan Majors released some text messages that were from his girlfriend about the whole situation, but I'm not going to talk about it too much because this is changing all the time. It's a very delicate topic too. But it is a sad situation for both people. Like, Jonathan's acting career is at stake here, and obviously the victim. Like, it really is a sad situation to be in, and it does happen a lot, and a lot of it goes unnoticed. So while this is a bad situation, this does greatly affect Kang's future in the MCU, and I'm not like pulling this into Kang right away because like I don't want to put shade on the situation. It is horrible. I just wanted to share my thoughts on what the possible outcomes for the MCU are at this point. If the story is gonna get worse, then they do have to make changes. I'm not gonna like talk about more about the situation because it keeps changing and it is delicate, but I just want to share my thoughts on how the MCU could kind of pivot if this does go horribly. So here are their options that I kind of thought they basically have at this point. The first of which is to recast Kang, which would be super difficult. Majors in that role is fantastic. I was so excited to see him continue that role after Quantumania. He was my favorite part of that movie, and obviously that post-credit scene builds him up as the only person who could play that role based on all these variants. Like, you can't really undo that now. Everyone has seen that this guy is Kang. It's kind of too late to change that now. Like, Jonathan Majors is Kang for this universe, but I don't know, it's very difficult at this point. He has only appeared 2 times, technically 3 if you count Loki Season 2, which was already filmed and is supposedly coming this year. But the entire MCU is dependent on this one character right now, and it all builds up to the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. So it's going to be very difficult and so painful to go through if they need to completely recast and change everything that they've done. The next option is you continue with Majors, which would be super controversial. The whole situation that he's going through right now will still be like a shadow over him, and maybe they do clear this up, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, but I would be surprised if Feige does this. But if Majors is in a contract, then it could get messy. You're gonna have a whole audience that kind of shuts him out and won't see the movies because he's in it, and that's not going to be good for Marvel because this character is so important to them right now. And their next and final option I've come up with is to restructure their plan for the entire multiverse saga, which would take a super long time to do because Feige has put so much time and passion into doing this that it's going to be super difficult and hard for them to figure out how you fix all this. If Kang is kind of a character you can't really use right now because of the whole Jonathan Majors thing, then how are you going to do this? and maybe they readjust who their central villain is. And I mean, like, you have Doctor Doom available. You could maybe shift to Doctor Doom and kind of build him up as the God Emperor Doom for Secret Wars. But doing this would be a massive headache for Marvel Studios because Kang has been introduced. You can't really like undo that now. Like, his story is set and it's still going. But maybe they change the like overall climax to the saga, which was Kang Dynasty. Maybe you move it over to like a more Doom-centric event. And Secret Wars could still happen with Doom because he ultimately is the main villain in that. But still, you lose the whole Kang aspect of Secret Wars. And then obviously we don't get Kang Dynasty, which I was super excited for. And I am still excited for it if it is still happening. Just, it's going to be super different now if all this does go through. And I can't wait for Doom to be introduced. He may come sooner than later if Marvel does take this approach and maybe like shuffle Kang over for a later time. Since you have him introduced, we know he does exist in this universe, and maybe you just save him for another time where it's more like logical to bring him back when the situation clears up, if it does. So that's basically all I have to say today. So thanks again for watching and listening. Has been a while. It does feel good to be back. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at THWIP_media. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, THWIP Media, and stay tuned, and I will see you all next time. So thanks again.